Christina Universe Citizen presents A New World Eligion, Episode 80, Part 1, July 8th, 2022. The Zerophase of EOM's conceptual integrity is unknown. New Era Eligion is of the greatest importance to our evolution humanity, as some of us are drawn by Synergetics vector equilibrium awareness into the omnirational projections and experimental design prospects of Planet U. This is for many different conceptual and reasoning insights and outlooks by anticipatory mind whose experiences of the PRJWBCS, politics, religion, justice, war, believe complex schemes, proves unsatisfactory in the interim and final analysis. Primarily because those interrelating factors promote negative interassociations between variously registered actions and reactions, resulting in punitory conditions. By registered, I mean what is memory stored in the brain, as the physical information differentiated from conscious metaphysical discerned patterns of the generalized content of disseminated information. Dissemination in the universal communications process is relatively continuous, even though the information and misinformation emanate from variously individually derived resources and wide-spreading event inventories over as yet undifferentiated periods in history, as the partially overlapping generations comprise the world's populations. In any event, punitory conditioning is regenerated in an absence of forethought. This occurs as emotional mentalities have no memory stored knowledge of vector equilibrium and the closest packed spheres models for integral self-control. The self-control is correlative as referentially acquired self-disciplines. Such acquired science-related know-what and know-how evolves as the individual, a complex human being, learns from infancy by observing the local environment. The child's, as well as the adult's, local environment is within the information provided domains in the immediate experiential experimental cognitive field. Naturally, cognition comes before recognition to the minuscule degree as almost to seem inessential in any lasting self-validation and self-other validation. To fill the child's brain with punitively devised and irrationally designed misinformations, as histories of the PRJWBC schemes take hold, this basically resets in relative differential disorder subsequent punitory event scenarios. Punitory event scenarios in turn become the re-established standards of disproportion in the human condition's local environment. Events thus occur wherever an adopted reality basis is adapted to, as the R factor is sociologically counted on to varying degrees for controlling the negatively espoused, rationalized purposes that culminate in self-other destruction at every comparative scale. The human condition is further aggravated as a result, with no omnirational expectation that can possibly resolve the humanly invented, self-other, perpetuated, increasingly more costly problem-making episodes in Scenario Universe. Sociology, by the way, is defined in Oxford University Press Dictionary as the study of the development, structure, and functioning of human society. There seems to be an agreement that the R factor, despite its detrimental misinformation, is preferred to no religion. As if religion is essential, and so New Era Eligion inspires the replacement for that false premise. As New Era Eligion references Synergetics with its geometric models, its nuclear geometry, and structural coordinate system of nature. You can structure the human society with variously contrived standards, including proposed, ratified, and mandated behavioral standards. But there seems to be a built-in futility that reenacts the subconsciously ignorantly fearful cautionaries as negative asymmetries correlating to punitory solutions. And this is especially problematic when the developing observer's mentality is expected to be aware of the world around his and or her ability to put in order the facts of experience. For establishing a semblance of rationality and humanity, where exploitation and the value of doing harm can be sloughed off as any personalized and justified reason to thwart the possibility of manifesting unity. Such justifications rationalize behavior that often is an emulation of what the PRJWBCS officially authorize as a protection against harm, but not for the unofficial reactionary behavior. Be that as it may, until we know more about the structural integrity of the universe and the minimum thinkable set relative to consciously coordinated thought and action, thought and language, the problem-making scenario will continue to thwart the manifestation of a true democracy. By contrast, as metaphysical intellect conceptualizes nuclear geometry, its conscious mentality refers thought, action, thought, language to the generalized model ability derived from Buckminster-Fuller's Synergetics. The knowledge of this derives from scientific comprehension of observed physical phenomena correlating to experimental explorations in the geometry of thinking, which is synergetics. This is, as systemic thought identifies metaphysical intellect as a function of universe. The conceptualizing of observed physical phenomena by metaphysical intellect is independent of the size, time-space sizing, manifest forms. Humans are mostly unaware of observing everything and anything environmentally, while activating its apprehending to comprehending proclivities. There is so much going on in the local environment's many different manifest forms. It may seem inessential for our humanity's everyday concerns to be consciously curious at a nuclear level, since humans have survived millions of years without doing so. But the nuclear level means to say in the generalized field, which is what nuclear geometry is teaching us more about. To survive from day to day for a whole WHOLE lifetime, humans do not have to be conscious of nuclear geometry, but the geometrical intertransformation environmentally is occurring nonetheless. Geometrical intertransformations and a mind's omniconceptuality is of the self-regenerating patterning integrities of omnirational quantation. Fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensions are of universe's generalized fields to which our contemporary adaptation to the manifest form is relatively oblivious. Because we do not sense these fourth, fifth, sixth, and higher dimensions, humans tend to show little interest in identifying systems referential to the most economical generalized conceptioning. Consequently, our contemporary humanity cultivates the ignorance of the PRJWBCS as a misleading, misguiding contextual parameter, even though it is unlikely that the more fervent communicators on the social media network platforms have a clue to this acronym, much less to compose their subjective to objective thought process long enough for their egotistical narcissistic self-aggrandizement to be set aside to reevaluate the substandard conditions they are presently imposing on the governing system, as the people who also seem to be taking it all in strides despite reverberating confusions, disruptions of a person's integral domain, and the inherently inviolable integrity of the individual. Once we learn that conceptioning can be omnirationally correlative to a world that can work for everyone, we become intelligently involved. Our individual metaphysical intellect's awareness of closest packing spheres integrates this knowledge with the prospects for projecting the most economically derived nucleation into initiating what is potentially viable as an individual economic initiative. The viability correlates to one's anticipatory design, science, reality. Naturally, the anticipatory reality is what everyone looks forward to experiencing, but ordinarily, the mental pictures of it are based in historical content, including the latest technological innovations and inventions, most of which seem to intend making a living on Earth, whatever it is supposed to be, not what eventually is, comprehending the most economical ways systems behave relative to unity and self in universe. Where the J factor intervenes, its reality basis likewise is punitory judged from its emulating authority that promises satisfaction as the justice people expect to resolve the extremes of malevolent thought action, thought language, which is also reactionary by degree of the misinforming influence. The misinforming influence harkens back to the PRJWBCS R factor as the B factor supplants cosmic logic with the illogical differentials, which are the asymmetries, not the symmetries of universe. The illogical differentials of consciousness are propagated asymmetries, where the zerophase of eternal omniscient mind, EOM's conceptual integrity is unknown. To be continued in Part 2, Episode 81. Thank you.